Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down really complex topics into presentations that, hopefully, are a lot easier to understand. All right, we're jumping right back in today. This is part 3 of our 6-part series looking at the Major Network and System Failures Report from Virtualization Options LLC. And today, we're focused specifically on Chapter 3, How Failures Spread. So here's the big question, right? How does one tiny localized hiccup turn into a full-blown catastrophic outage that takes everything down with it? Well, to figure that out, we're basically going to conduct a forensic investigation. We're going to uncover those hidden mechanics that let a small problem just spiral out of control. So here's our game plan. We'll look at how good features can turn bad, then get into the overload death spiral and the domino effect. After that, we'll dive into silent failures and legacy threats, before we wrap it all up with how to break the chain. Okay, let's get into it. Our investigation begins with a really surprising twist. It turns out the very features we design into our systems to make them resilient can actually become the main highways for failure. What's so wild here is the irony. Just look at this. On the left, you've got the promise. These are all the things we build to keep us safe, like real-time data replication. But then, look at the right side, the peril. That same feature can spread corrupted data across the globe in seconds, way faster than any human could ever react. The very tools meant to be our safety net can become the cause of the disaster. And, the critical thing to understand is that these features are all built to take humans out of the loop. But by doing that, they also remove the human checkpoints, the sanity checks that might have caught a problem before it spread to every single corner of the system. They literally become superhighways for propagating errors at machine speed. Okay, let's follow the evidence to our next clue. This is how a small partial failure gets amplified into a total system outage. This is where a little bit of smoke turns into a raging inferno. It all starts with some pretty simple math. So picture a 5-node cluster. That's just a group of servers working together, and it's running pretty comfortably at, say, 70% capacity. Now, if just one of those servers fails, the load on the other 4 instantly jumps to a really stressful 85%. And just like that, a stable system is right on the edge of being completely overwhelmed. But it gets so much worse. Because when apps start seeing errors, what's their default behavior? They retry, over and over. This sounds logical, but it can easily double the traffic, absolutely hammering an already stressed system and pushing those remaining nodes right over the cliff. And this is what kicks off what engineers call a death spiral. Every failure just piles more load onto the survivors, which then causes them to fail. It's especially dangerous when all that overload hits a central choke point, like a shared database. When that one single component starts to throttle, the whole system just grinds to a halt. Which is a brilliant illustration of the next stage of failure, the domino effect. In today's super interconnected world, one little push in the wrong place can topple absolutely everything. In the world of microservices, a lot of applications are built like a house of cards. You can see it in this cascade here. It starts with service A failing. Then, the service that depends on it, service B, just gets stuck waiting. This sets off a chain reaction that ripples all the way up the stack until the thing you're actually trying to use fails completely. And it all started with one tiny failure, buried deep, deep inside. Now we get to one of the most challenging parts of any investigation, the hidden evidence. We're talking about the kinds of failures that don't immediately set off big, loud alarms. And this is so important. By the time you or I see an error message on a website, the real problem might be buried layers deep in the system and have nothing to do with what's visibly failing. This sends the engineers on a total wild goose chase, treating the symptoms instead of the actual disease, all while the clock is ticking. Think of these as slow burn problems. A disk doesn't just explode, it degrades slowly. A memory leak sips away at resources drip by drip over hours, sometimes days. These problems don't trigger the big alerts until they finally cross some critical threshold. And by then, a massive cascade has already begun, which makes finding the true root cause incredibly difficult. Okay, let's look at our final piece of evidence. This is what you might call the latent threat, the cold case file. It's a vulnerability that was left behind years ago, just sitting there, waiting for the perfect conditions to strike. This timeline of a real-world incident is just a perfect, chilling example. It all kicks off at time 0 with a tiny little syntax error. But 2 minutes later, dormant routes from a migration 7 years ago suddenly wake up. This forces all the network traffic down an old, tiny pipe, and the whole network chokes. The result? A tiny mistake from years ago turns into a 90-minute global outage. It was literally a ticking time bomb just sitting in the system.
So, after our whole investigation, after looking at all the evidence, what are the key takeaways? How do these catastrophic failures really spread?
We've seen that our modern systems are just filled with these mechanisms that don't just allow failures to happen, they can actively amplify them. From well-meaning automation to forgotten ancient code, the potential for a massive cascade is really woven into the very fabric of our digital world.
So what's the bottom line? We really need a shift in our thinking. Our systems can either amplify a small fire into a massive explosion, or they can contain it. The goal isn't to prevent every single spark. That's just impossible. The real goal is to build systems that can contain those failures and keep the blast radius small before it becomes a catastrophe.
And that wraps up our look at the anatomy of how failures spread. But it leaves us with this really critical question, not just for engineers, but for all of us who rely on technology. How do we build for a world where failure isn't just possible, but is an absolute given?